What's good, everybody? It's Hamza from Ather Gaming, and today, guys, I'm coming to you with a brand new video. But before we get into it, make sure you guys go ahead and like this video for 4 days in a row. Guys, they're trying to 13 likes on this video. Of course, guys, I know everybody's been talking about it. It is the ban list. I will not be doing a ban list reaction video. Instead, I'll be talking about the top 5 meta decks post ban list, and then I'll give my insights on what I personally feel about it. Again, guys, I will be revealing the giveaway details tomorrow, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing a bonus giveaway at 7,000 subscribers. So again, tell a friend to tell a friend if you love our videos. Check out all the comment section down below where you guys can find some awesome opportunities that you can take advantage of. And without further ado, guys, let's get straight into the video. Alright, guys, so I'm sure you saw from the title I am going to be talking about the top 5 meta decks with honorable mentions and of course my ban list changes. No, I did not make a ban list reaction video just because I decided to put them all together to make one wholesome, awesome video for you guys. Again, you guys can see right here, it says giveaway details tomorrow, sub goal 7,000. We do a bonus giveaway. I'm going to be doing a giveaway every week for the month of December as well, and I am going to be uploading daily as well. But anyways, guys, so the first thing we are going to do, we're going to talk about some ban list changes. So the major ban list changes, of course, are going to be to guard dragons. And now I know a lot of people don't really think guard dragons got hit because of course LP survived the ban list, but there is a slight hit to the deck, and that is on the end of Link Cross. Now again, if you guys don't know what the deck would do, it would do like its whole sort of shenanigans, go into Romulus, and then it would go Romulus into Link Cross to sum the 2 tokens. So now do I think that this deck is absolutely dead and gutted? Absolutely not. This deck can for sure still be tier 1 and can probably actually end up becoming tier 1 just because it only lost Link Cross as opposed to the other deck I'm going to talk about that actually lost a lot more than Link Cross. But I mean, its win con is still there. Yes, it can't extra deck lock because it also lost that as well, but now people can start moving towards a Dragoon variant of the deck where they don't really use Carrier. Instead, they are using Anaconda to actually just summon out Dragoon on top of their multiple negates with their other hand rips with Levineer. So this deck might actually rise in popularity. We don't really know. But now moving on, let's move on to the next deck that actually got hit by the ban list, and that is going to be Infernoble Knights. Now again, you guys know Infernoble actually had a massive hit on the ban list, and that was we actually ended up losing Link Cross, and we actually ended up losing Smoke Grenade as well. So now this deck is for the most part quote unquote dead. I mean, there are variants that you can play. You can play the PK version, you can try and do some sort of VFD shenanigans as well. But do I definitely feel like this deck is as good as it used to be? No. Konami did a really good job in absolutely just stopping the deck completely. I have no complaints. Again, I happen to be non-biased on this fact, and like I said in my ban list prediction video, I did predict Smoke Grenade and Link Cross to be banned. So this, I mean, you can't really say much about this. It was a very unfair deck, right? A lot of people, well, my brother especially, he calls it a single player Yu-Gi-Oh, where you kind of go first, you try to disrupt your opponent, and then they try to disrupt you, they hand trap you, and now they get punished for hand trapping you. It's a very unfair deck in the meta, and honestly, it's pretty good, healthy refreshment that this deck was hit, but I'm kind of surprised that certain decks were not hit. But anyways, those are just like the 2 major deck changes in my personal opinion. The other things they did was like give us back Dragon Buster and Toad, but I mean, everybody knew those cards were eventually going to come off the list. So again, these were the major changes. I'm just gonna go ahead and summarize it. I think Dragon Link can still be tier 1, especially because they can still do Anaconda Dragoon shenanigans. And then again, on top of that, Infernoble's quote unquote dead. It's probably gonna fall down to Rogue. But now moving on to honorable mention before we get into the top 5. The first honorable mention is going to be Drytrons. I couldn't find a better picture. This is all I had, but this is going to be our first honorable mention on the deck. And the reason why I'm saying it's an honorable mention is there's so much potential for this deck to actually just skyrocket and hit tier 1, because 1, it can play around Nibiru. 2, it can end with like Herald of Perfection with all sorts of shenanigans, multiple negates. You can splash this with Megalith as well. Megalith is already a super insane ritual based deck. There's already so much ritual support as well. So I literally feel like this is going to be one of those sleeper decks that don't be surprised if it is tier 1, because honestly it's very powerful, and I will have a deck profile plus comp tutorials coming out on this deck. Moving on to the next deck that's actually a honorable mention is going to be Prank Kids. And now this reason why I say Prank Kids is, again, it's really close to creeping up to the meta where it just becomes like this godly tier 1 deck where it can do like combos and it can play through back row, because again, it's like 15 or 17, I don't really know the proper deck count, but it's like 17 1-card combos to actually just get you to your end board. And I know there are all sorts of other shenanigans you can pull off with this deck. Battle Butler is insane, Rip Roar and Roaster is insane as well. There's a lot of recursion that this deck has, Lampsies, Fansies, Roxy's, There's the other one I forgot, Z's, but whatever. Prank Kids is another very powerful honorable mention that I would say. And then the final honorable mention on the list is going to be PK. Now this can be like VA, this can be anything, just Cherubini, right? But the reason why I say it's actually an honorable mention is because, again, even though Infernoble got hit, we have seen variants of the deck that just plays like 2 warriors, mill 1, summon Renaud, special Renaud, get like Durandal, get all sorts of these other shenanigans searches. There are ways that you can make a sold, as I have uploaded on the channel already, like the Dark Warrior version, where like you make an Appaloosa and then you can combo under the Appaloosa. So this is another deck that I do believe that people may or may not be sleeping on. So I feel like these 3 decks you guys should definitely watch out for. If you can pick up the cards for cheap, make sure you do that, because these are going to be some decks that can potentially take over the format. But now moving on to our top 5, we are going to slowly reveal this like I've been doing it for recently. So the first thing we are going to do is we're going to talk about the number 5 spot, which is going to be Invoke Dogma. Again, this deck went untouched. Invoke just keeps going under the radar on the ban list, which I mean is to no surprise just because it doesn't garner the same popularity. This can also be Invoke Dogma Shaddoll as well. Just that Shaddoll is more like the Winda extra deck. It's not really the engine, whereas Invoke Dogma is like an engine and an engine. So I'm going to be talking about that. So again, Invoke is a very easy 1-card engine that you can just kind of throw in a bunch of hand traps, throw in a bunch of utility cards, whatever the meta is, you can play those cards in your deck, and then you'll be rewarded because Invoke is a 1-card engine. And then speaking of 1-card engines, on the flip side we have the Dogma variants, which literally Dogma is the exact same thing as Invoked, except it locks you the extra deck. And then these cards go hand in hand, being able to summon Makaba on the 5th summon, then summoning from the extra deck, and it doesn't matter that you're locked because we already got the Makaba. Then you can play hand traps, you can play real traps. It's a very powerful deck in this current metagame, especially when the meta is unsolved. So I definitely feel like this is one of the best decks of the current format. Now moving on to our number 4 spot is going to be Dinos. So the reason why I don't have Dinos a little bit higher is just specifically for the purpose of I don't really know how it's going to contend with the top 3 decks. Dinos is more of like this deck that's like really coin flip. It's either you have it or you don't, whereas the other decks on top of Dinos like 3, 2, and 1 are a lot more consistent. They're a lot more potent, and I definitely feel like they're a lot better than Dinos. But again, Dinos is still going to be a top 5 deck. VFD was unhit, so there are ways that you can play VFD be a go first deck, but again, I feel like the go second variant where it just shatters your boards is way better. The reason why I'm putting it at 4 instead of a little higher is because, again, Infernoble and Dragonlink did get hit, and Dinos was like the main killer of those decks because you could just play through all sorts of hand traps. It didn't really matter. So not much more to say about Dinos. We've been talking about this deck for far too much, but that is going to be at number 4. At number 3, we are going to be talking about a deck that my brother actually reminded me was still in the current metagame, which is going to be Eldritch Dragoon, Eldritch Dragoon Dogma, Eldritch Dragoon, whatever. Any sort of variant of this deck is going to be the 3rd best deck of the current format, and that's just my personal opinion. Again, I know people might put this higher, but I feel like the other 2 decks are a little better than this. But again, this goes with Eldritch variants and it goes with Dragoon variants as well. But again, Eldritch Dragoon Dogma is probably going to be one of the top decks in the current format, just because a lot of people have forgotten about it. On top of that, Eldritch absolutely slaughters control deck. Shout out to my older brother for showing me that. And then Dragoon as well is already a problematic deck. Not a lot of cards can actually deal with this, so I feel like this is going to be a very powerful and potent deck in the current metagame. And again, a lot of people like playing like the slow, grindy back and forth Yu-Gi-Oh! And what better card than Eldritch? And again, Herald is out of the format by losing Link Cross, so Eldritch infinitely gets better. And again, this can be a Numeron variant as well, because like I said before, the 2 major decks that were making Herald were these 2 decks right here, Infernoble and Dragonlink, and now they are no longer making Herald, meaning Eldritch is like completely online again. So it is going to be a scary deck that you guys for sure should be ready for. Now again, we are going to talk about the number 2 deck, but before I reveal this, number 3 can for sure be number 2 as well. But again, our number 2 deck is going to be Zodiac. Now this is going to be the 2nd best deck in my personal opinion in the format, just being Zodiacs, Zeus being 1-card engines. There's just so much that this deck can do. But again, another cool deck which I could definitely recommend you guys doing would be to go ahead and put this together right here. So now we are going to be looking at Golden Lord plus Zodiac, so Eldritch Zoo. Now this deck is going to be absolutely insane. This deck that my older brother told me about as well. And again, the reason why he says it was a very powerful deck is control decks really struggle with dealing with Golden Lord, right? Like there are these decks that can't really deal with an untargetable, non-destructible Golden Lord with 3500 attack. So what do? You pair that with a control deck, which is Zodiac, which yes, they are a little control oriented, but they have ways of dealing with their opposing Golden Lord with Whiptails. But if you're playing against Golden Lord or you're playing against a Zodiac Mirror and they are not playing Golden Golden Lord in their deck, they'll absolutely get slaughtered, because again, Whip Tail can out this card, and then if you have your own Golden Lord plus a Zodiac Trident, it's insane. Again, this deck can play around hand traps as well. It can play around Nibiru, and then it's very similar to the Invoked engine, where it's all one card engines. So depending on what the format is, you can either load your deck with hand traps or load it with real traps and utility cards. So again, this is going to be the second best deck of the format. And then the best deck of the format, I'm sure you guys already knew what it was going to be. It is going to be Virtual World. Now again, this deck for some reason was literally untouched. I kind of don't understand why this deck was untouched. VFD was unbanned, and then on top of that as well, we are looking at our QB, who is going to be an absolute Chad in the format, because he's pretty problematic to deal with, honestly. Because if you guys don't know, QB has the effect on board where any card sent from the field to the graveyard is banished instead. Now this is going to be dealing with Eldritch, and there are going to be a lot of Eldritch decks in the format, so being able to remove the Eldritch cards and just getting them banished, even when they activate it, they can still deal with it. So it's going to be very problematic. And again, you have VFD to stop Golden Lord during your opponent's turn, and then you bring QB back during your turn. So even if they Conquistador you, that Conquistador is still going to be banished. That Hakuro is still going to be banished, even though the effects will resolve. And on top of that, they probably won't have the monsters on board. So QB is going to be a very great hindrance to a lot of these decks. And on top of that, VFD is going to be stunning a lot of decks as well. So it's very surprising why VFD is still limited, or legal, sorry, in the current format. But anyways, guys, this was just my personal take. If you guys have any opinions, please let me know down below. But anyways, guys, let's roll the outro. So guys, that was the end of the video. If you guys liked the video, please go ahead and like the video. Let's try and maintain that insanity likes of getting more than 13 likes on a video. Again, if you guys made it to the end of the video, go ahead and comment down Infernoble. Yeah, let's just make it Infernoble. Comment down Infernoble, guys, if you made it to the end of the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And like I always say, my name's Hamza. Keep on shining and never give up on your dreams. Peace.